The stunning text messages detail an extraordinary relationship between Ginni Thomas and then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, just after then President Trump started his fight to overturn the 2020 election results. The first message from Thomas came the day before Joe Biden was declared the winner of the 2020 presidential election. "Do not concede," she wrote. "It takes time for the army who is gathering for his back." Thomas urged Meadows to help the president stand firm. The majority knows Biden and the left is attempting the greatest heist of our history. The messages don't directly reference Justice Thomas or the Supreme Court, but show how Ginni Thomas sought to guide the president's strategy to overturn the election, urging Meadows to make Trump's controversial attorney, Sidney Powell, the lead and the face. On November 24th, Meadows wrote Thomas, quote, "This is a fight of good versus evil."
It's a fight of good versus evil. That is Ginni Thomas, of course, Clarence Thomas, who's on the Supreme Court, his wife. And that is more than part of the 2,000 text messages that Mark Meadows, former chief of staff for Donald Trump, and he did provide to the January 6th committee before he stopped cooperating. Now, although as they mentioned there, Justice Thomas was not specifically named in those messages back and forth about making sure you don't let this election happen, overturn this election. You can probably pretty much see the connection that's drawn here. Let's continue on and watch this.
Thomas replied, "Thank you, needed that. This plus a conversation with my best friend just now." It is unclear who Ginni Thomas was referring to. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas often refers to his wife this way.
"I love being here with my bride, Virginia, who's a gift from God and my totally best friend in the whole world."
Ginni Thomas recently acknowledged she had attended President Trump's rally at the Ellipse prior to the attack, but says she left before Mr. Trump addressed the crowd. Ginni Thomas has publicly denied any conflict of interest between her activism and her husband's work. In the one case heard by the court tied to the January 6th insurrection, they voted to release Trump White House records to the committee. There was only one dissent, Justice Clarence Thomas.
Well, that's not looking very good. And while we're talking about this activism from Ginni Thomas that she goes on and on to talk about, let's get to some of those details of that, because apparently her activism is separate from her husband. So Clarence is what she did say in defense of some of the things that she's doing. "Clarence doesn't discuss his work with me, and I don't involve him in my work," is what she said in an interview with the Washington Free Beacon. It's a yes, exactly. Ginni Thomas, in that same interview, she also acknowledged that she had attended Trump's Stop the Steal rally at the Ellipse near the White House on January 6th, but said that she left early because it was too cold and she did not have any role in planning the event. Well, okay, wait a second. She said she didn't have any role in planning the event. That's why she left early. Whether or not you have a role in planning event doesn't really determine whether or not you leave early or not. Anyways, I'm just saying that didn't make much sense. Anyways, other folks aren't buying this whole activism role either, especially when it comes to texting the chief of staff at the time and asking him to stop this. So a former Ted Cruz staffer, her name is Amanda Carpenter, she pointed out some of these conflicts of interest that go with these text messages. So she tweets, question: "Given that Justice Thomas did not write a dissent explaining his vote to block the release of January 6th documents, which would include his wife's texts, doesn't he need to offer some substantial explanation now?" Yes. I understand that people want him to resign, recuse, whatever now, but let's look at his specific actions and how they relate and what gaps there are. And that's aside from his unexplained hospitalization that we're now hearing about as well. She continues on, "Ginni was lobbying the White House on a specific legal matter, making Powell the face of Trump fraud team, and that goes to the heart of January 6th. Also, that goes beyond her role as a generic activist and into issues her husband specifically considered and ruled upon in a matter to protect Ginni." And lastly here, Amanda Carpenter says, "It's also worth emphasizing Thomas was the lone dissent when SCOTUS authorized the National Archives to release the documents, the only one. Even the Trump appointed judges say yes, and he never explained why." I think that's something that, as Amanda Carpenter went through all that, there's the connection made between he's the lone person who doesn't want to say why he did or didn't do something. And then that those things would actually protect his wife. It's a direct conflict of interest, Rick. And I wonder at what point people are gonna start thinking we need to see something further or demand that. Honestly, I never have any hope in that happening.
No, you shouldn't. And it's only because we have seen how Basically, the right wing plays by a totally different game. Hypothetically, if let's say, again, hypothetically, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's husband happened to be involved with a group that is for abortion, or a group that is grassroots that tries to get involved with, let's say, pushing Medicare for all. These would be brought up and would try to disdain her credibility because of this conflict of interest. However, the conflicts of interest within right-wing circles are just prevalent, and we're just supposed to go along with it. If you remember when Donald Trump was sworn in his first speech, he had those folders that were literally empty. They just had white pages. And he's like, all of these folders, we are gonna separate myself and the presidency in the Oval Office from my businesses. Bullcrap, it never happened. They just want you to think that it'll happen. I remember seeing Ginni Thomas was involved with a hard right-wing firm that helped write the amicus brief for the Muslim ban. This is serious stuff. And the fact that we, again, are supposed to just go along with her being a paid consultant, a handsomely paid, at this point, lobbyist in right-wing circles, while she also is, sorry to put this out there, pardon the pun, in bed with the most right-wing Supreme Court justice. How is there no oversight on this? Oh, actually, I know why. Because they want the corruption to be there. The only oversight of the Supreme Court is from the actual Supreme Court justices. They do not allow this. The only people that can police them are themselves. Like we have seen in the past where Justice Sotomayor, Justice Breyer have recused themselves from cases. We have even seen when it comes to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and another Supreme Court justice where their significant other has resigned from their law firm as a lawyer because of the conflict of interest. With Ginni Thomas and Clarence Thomas, it's like floodgates. Who cares? So it's hypocritical, but it also speaks to where we are with right-wing politics and where we've been for a very long time.
Yeah, the voice have to be loud enough from opposing viewpoints in politics in order for maybe things like this to change, or at least for these things to be highlighted. And that's why they attack the media many times. They're like, oh, the media is over reporting facts. Can't believe they're so slanted. That's always the way it goes. And then if you have enough, which has become now damn near the entirety of the Republican Party that's coalescing and circling the wagons around corruption, direct and open corruption, then they can just say, what, you think the entire party's corrupt? You're gonna charge everyone and prosecute and investigate all of us? And if it continues to happen, if the investigations go to everyone that needs to be investigated, it'll be so widespread that it'll look like, oh my God, these look at these political investigations. So as long as you make your corruption so widespread that your damn near entire party is involved in it, it looks like the other party's just out to get you instead of you just being that corrupt.
Let me just add one more caveat as well. Her rhetoric in the past of like, transsexual leftists are taking over and stuff like that, and deep state and fascist left and all that stuff is literally insane. But to see in those texts, and the Washington Post had a really lengthy article / journalistic investigation into all these text messages. One of them is literally a Q conspiracy theory that she texted Mark Meadows about the president, hypothetically, it's not true, hypothetically watermarking ballots. She texted that to him. So this isn't just like some, I feel like we've actually done a disservice in this segment because we've said that she's like a right-wing lobbyist and she's conservative. No, she is giving Q talking points to the chief of staff of the president. This is not some average person who's a mega millionaire and super successful, and she just so happens to be married to a Supreme Court justice who votes right-wing 100% of the time. It is someone who is a conspiracy theorist, and we have the text messages. We have the evidence. And then to see, as we saw in that piece, I believe it was from CBS, that he was the lone vote to block any of the Trump information. I mean, come on. The game's out there.
They're total best friends.